Okay, today we're going to start the process of making jewelweed soap. And of course the first step is to go out and find jewelweed. You'll want to identify it in late summer by the bloom, which is an orange bloom. And then the leaves are very, very soft and skin-like to the texture. The stems are translucent and they're very easily identifiable. So first thing is to locate a nice batch of jewelweed, and Frank's going to start cutting it and filling up a canner. Canner should be enough for a nice batch. We're going to cut this this bit of jewelweed. It's just very soft. Yes, it will. So it looks like he's going to cut enough to fill a canner, and then when we get that done, he's going to fill that with rainwater, and we're going to boil that, and that will be the water that we use in the lye soap. Yeah, okay, you can see Frank's cut a pretty full pot of jewelweed that we're going to simmer down with some rainwater. And another point to easily identify it, it has a purplish stem with a kind of a bulbous type of joint that's, like I said, somewhat of a translucent stem, and it's purple. Just to help you with a little bit better identification. Okay, now we're going to head back up to the house, get some rainwater out of the barrel, and we're going to simmer that down for about an hour. Okay, the next step is to fill your kettle with, I like to use rainwater. If you don't have rainwater or creek water, you could probably just go ahead and use tap water. I just think this would be a little more pure and not dilute out the jewelweed any. Alright, we've put the rainwater in the canning kettle, and we find it's easier just to do some of the stuff outside. You don't have to do it outside, but we're going to go ahead and put that on the grill and let that come up to a pretty high heat, hopefully a low boil, and boil it for about an hour. This morning we're going to go ahead and make the jewelweed soap in the crock pot. And I've went ahead and measured out everything on my digital scales, so I have everything ready to go. And the next step will be to add the lye to the jewelweed water. And we'll go ahead and do that. This recipe is 42 ounces of lard, which I have measured out and will put in the crock pot to melt. 16.7 ounces of water, and I've used the jewelweed concentrate. And 6.2 ounces of lye. So that's all measured out. We'll go ahead and melt the lard in the crock pot. I'll add the lye to the jewelweed concentrate, wearing eye protection and gloves, and then we'll come back and we'll show you how that goes. I carefully added the lye, the 6.2 ounces of lye, to the jewelweed concentrate, stirred it until the liquid mixture started to clear up again. It's cloudy when it's dissolving. And we're going to go ahead and let that cool. It should be probably about 200 degrees right now because the lye creates the heat. So we're going to let that cool down to about 100 degrees while the lard's melting. And they both should be approximately the same temperatures. And then we'll go ahead and add the lye water to the lard, and then we'll mix it with the stick blender until we get a trace. And then we'll go ahead and let it cook for an hour. Okay, I've mixed it with my stick blender just nice and slowly for probably, I don't know, maybe 7 minutes or so. And you can see it's getting a really nice thick texture like pudding. And that's what they call a trace. You can actually leave a trace on top of the lye and lard mixture. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and take the stick blender out. I'll put the crock pot on low for an hour. We'll see how it's going then with very little stirring, and I'll add just a little bit of stearic acid at that time to harden my bars a lot quicker, a lot better. Alright, the soap's been cooking an hour, and you can see where it's turned into soap around the edges. I haven't stirred it yet, and I'm getting ready to add the 2 ounces of stearic acid that I've measured out on my digital scales, and I'm going to go ahead and just sprinkle that in the center because it's kind of hard to melt. So we're just going to sprinkle it here in the center, and we're going to give it a good stir and let it melt. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it back on for another hour, and it should be done within an hour and a half. Thought I'd give you a quick peek at what it looks like when I stir it up. That has the stearic acid in it. I'm going to go ahead and get that all stirred up, and then we'll go ahead and put a lid back on it for an hour and check it. You know, I think that this soap is ready. It's been 2 hours and cooking about 2 hours and 10 minutes. They say it's usually done within 2.5, and it's really getting thick and mashed potato-y. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the molds before it gets too hard. And then we'll let that cool and we'll see what we have. Okay, we had just enough for this one mold, and it's already starting to harden, so we're going to go ahead and let that cool, and I'll take it out later and we'll slice it and see what it looks like. Well, this soap hardened in no time at all. It's actually still warm, and I could take it out of the mold. It feels very firm, so I'm going to peel the paper off and let it harden up another hour or so, and then we'll go ahead and slice it. But this is really setting up fast for me, so we'll see how it goes, but it should be real nice soap.